Sean Strickland, welcome. I hope you are happy here. You have just made it to the list of UFC champions that the UFC and Dana White do not want. This is a topic I've wanted to chat with you about since the fight between Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya first got made. And then once he won that title, it was even more set in stone. This is a video that I wanted to make. And then last week we have Sean Strickland's comments on Bud Light, and it just reminded me, Doug, sit down, get in front of the goddamn camera and make this video. So here we are. I'm welcoming you, Sean Strickland, to the list of UFC champions that Dana White and the UFC do not want. Now, it's pretty obvious when you think about it. I mean, first off, Sean Strickland's Twitter account or X account or whatever, that's the problem. I mean, just in a recent example, look at the statements that Sean Strickland has made about Bud Light, okay? Look at this. I really want a Bud Light sponsorship. Yes, I like money, but I think it's a story of redemption. Either way, I'll go so hard on them in my next fight, they will have to accept me or denounce me, and then we're going to know what they stand for. Sean. Love it. Love the energy, mate. Do you understand what this means? Yeah. Straight away, Sean Strickland is going to thank the sponsors of the show when he gets a mic in front of him. One of those sponsors just paid $100 million. And then he's going to say some super anti-trans stuff. He's going to call men with penises real men, say that women are born women, you know, crazy things, mate. He's essentially going to force the company's biggest sponsor to make a statement, right? To either eat humble pie after their misplaced decision to advertise with such a controversial person or agree with him. And it's not just Sean's Twitter account. Like, we could make an entire video here just going through all of the things Sean Strickland has said on Twitter. You know, like recently we've had a war and Sean Strickland's gotten up on that. We could go through all that sort of stuff. It's not just the problem he's causing with the sponsorships, the problem that he's going to be causing on Twitter or X, but there might be some people that are high up in the UFC that just feel like Sean Strickland is a curse for them. He's essentially knocked off the face of the company, Israel Adesanya, who the UFC have said that's their second highest paid star. He's paid just below Conor McGregor. He's the face of 2 UFC video games. He was sold to us as a dominant champion, even though when you go and look at his, you know, we'll get into that at another time as well, but he's constantly sold to us as like the best striker in the world, even though Kelvin Gastelum can hold it with. Another video for another time. But Sean Strickland has ripped down Israel Adesanya, and now Israel Adesanya has said he's going to run away from the sport until 2027. I'm sure he's joking about the 2027 part, but he's left the company for the time being. The biggest face of the company has left the company for the time being. Now the biggest sponsor of the company is getting called out on Twitter by one of your champions. They must hate Sean Strickland. So then, to answer their problem and save themselves thousands of marketing dollars with the Dricus du Plessis Israel Adesanya fight that they set up, they then went ahead and set up an easy win for Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 294, right? Chimaev was set to take on a very easy opponent of Paulo Costa or a short notice Kamaru Usman. And, you know, if you look at the commentary going all the way back to when the Usman fight actually got set up, people were calling Kamaru Usman washed up, like as washed up as his knees are. And Usman pushed that fight to such a close call that so many people, including myself, think that that should have been a draw. And in the fight, he hurt Chimaev's hand as well. He took Chimaev out of the picture. It was such a bad showing for Chimaev that the UFC and ESPN seem to have started backtracking on saying that he's next up to Sean Strickland. If you go and watch ESPN after UFC Sao Paulo, you'll see that they've gone back to calling Dricus du Plessis the #1 contender, next to step up with Sean Strickland. So the Sean Strickland Khamzat Chimaev experiment seems to have blown up in their face, just like the Sean Strickland Israel Adesanya experiment seems to have blown up in their face. Every time a microphone is in front of Sean Strickland, he seems to be damaging the UFC's product. So how high does this rank for you guys on the list of UFC champions that the UFC didn't want, right? In recent memory, you've got Aljamain Sterling. He was sort of known as a pay-per-view dud, and look how they did him with Sean O'Malley. But in a bit of a deeper history, maybe mid-level history, you've got Tyron Woodley, who never got along with Dana White, or GSP. To me, it's going right up there with GSP, and I mean George St. Pierre, right? If you're a recent or a new fan, you'll believe that the UFC absolutely love George St. Pierre, and they certainly love using his name as marketing, one of the greatest of all time reasons. But the reason that GSP isn't a champion anymore isn't exactly because he had a Robbie Lawler type of exit. GSP caused a big mess for the UFC at UFC 167 against Johnny Hendricks in a super close fight, and then walked away from that title without setting up what would have been an awesome rematch and big pay-per-view dollars for the UFC. It pissed Dana White off so much that when GSP wanted to come back, he actually had him sign in his contract that he would defend the belt if he was to defeat Michael Bisping and take on Robert Whittaker. GSP went on to defeat Michael Bisping and then once again walked away from the belt and really pissed Dana White off. Later on, there would be talk about GSP to fight Khabib Nurmagomedov. God, I hate that name. And both fighters were into it. Khabib was into it. GSP was into it. It came out later on the Joe Rogan podcast that the one person that wasn't into it was Dana White. GSP is an amazing marketing tool for the UFC and just for the culture and spirit of martial arts. They love putting him up on the screen, but they hate putting him in the cage. It was the UFC's decision not to have him. There is a long list of champions that the UFC do not want. I feel like Sean Strickland has joined that list. Big difference here is once Sean Strickland's career is over, I don't think you're going to be seeing marketing promos of him. I don't think we're going to be seeing Sean Strickland at the 40 years of UFC celebration. I think Sean Strickland is going to be going the same way as Mighty Mouse. And if you ever ask yourself, am I a casual? Then ask yourself, do I know who Mighty Mouse is? And if the answer is no, yeah, you're a casual. Where are you going to rank Sean Strickland on your list of champions that the UFC does not want? Let me know down in the comments. And if you have been enjoying these videos, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button down there. I appreciate every single one, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.